Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us here today. My name is Kim Poe. I am the Children and Young Adult Consultant with the Connecticut State Library. I'm here with my colleague, Ashley Sklar, the Adult Services and Community Engagement Consultant. And we are joined here by Meg Hadley Zimmerman, who is the Program Manager of End Hunger CT, to talk about changes that are happening, I think, in real time to the Supplemental Nutritional Assistance Program, also known as SNAP. There are some changes happening because of the shutdown. There are some changes that are happening because of legislation changes. And Meg's here to give us some much needed information as public libraries where we see a lot of people who are looking for a lot of information, and we are often trusted resources in a community. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Meg. Thank you. We really appreciate how quickly you were able to pull this off for us.
Sure, of course. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to talk to all of you because exactly as Kim said, communities look to you as sources of information, and that's my favorite types of people to talk to are the people who are trusted messengers within their communities. I love talking to schools. I love talking to libraries. So I'm hoping to be able to share the best I can. Exactly what Kim said. I'll be talking about SNAP and what it is. And what's going on right now, and then what all of you can do to help. I will share my screen. Let's see. All right, and can you all see that? Perfect. And just the presentation, right? Okay, just confirming. Thank you. So here we go. So I'm going to try to go through a lot of things really quickly at sort of a high level. If anyone has clarifying questions along the way, feel free to jump in. I'm going to put things in the chat. I think Kim said she'd be monitoring the chat and could flag any questions for me. But we will have some time at the end for some more thorough question and answers. So I'll go over a high-level overview of the SNAP program, then what's changing, both due to federal changes that came this summer and also what's happening right now because of the shutdown. I'll go over some talking points of just general community messaging that we're trying to promote about the program and about other resources that are available to families. And then I'll talk a little bit about available resources and sources of information and other ways that you all can help with food security issues during this time. So, for starters, again, very general, what is SNAP? SNAP is a federally funded but state administered food benefit program, formerly known as food stamps. That language was officially outdated back in the early 2010s or late aughts. These days, we try to promote saying SNAP instead of food stamps because there is sort of a lingering stigma around the term food stamps for some people. SNAP stands for the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, federally funded by the USDA. In Connecticut, it's administered by the Connecticut Department of Social Services. So SNAP benefits are essentially cash that families can use on qualifying food items at participating retailers. Not every retailer that sells food participates in SNAP. They are required by law to put a sign in the window if they do accept SNAP. And the SNAP benefits are issued on what's called an EBT card, which stands for Electronic Benefits Transfer. This card on the screen here is an example of what an EBT card looks like. It is confusingly almost identical to the state medical card for anyone who participates in Husky health insurance. The only real distinguisher is that there's this, oh, sorry, I'm blocking it. This Quest logo on the back of the card distinguishes it as an EBT card, but that might be a little wonky, but basically it works essentially like a debit card. It can be swiped at a cashier upon checking out with food items. In Connecticut, the average monthly SNAP benefit is just under $200 per person per month. And so because that's per person, that means a household would receive more than an individual would. And there are some restrictions on what foods it can be used to buy in grocery stores. Notably, it can't be used on hot food. So like the prepared food items in a hot bar in a grocery store for some inexplicable reason can't be used, SNAP can't be used to buy those things. It also can't be used on things like cleaning products or cigarettes or alcohol, other things that can be sold in a grocery store but aren't technically considered food items. But any other food items in a grocery store, frozen, canned, fresh, etc., SNAP is good to be used on. So in Connecticut, there are thousands of stores that accept SNAP benefits, anywhere from your large grocery store chains to your small neighborhood bodegas, to even many farmers markets. And I'll talk more about farmers markets in a second. Oh, never mind, it's on this slide. Sorry. Yeah, there are also a lot of farmers markets that accept SNAP. Specifically, I've called out on this slide that there are just about 40 farmers markets in Connecticut that also double SNAP dollars that are spent. That's through their participation in a program that we help administer called Connecticut Fresh Match. And so SNAP participants can take their EBT cards to those farmers markets, and if they spend $10 of their own SNAP dollars, we'll give them an additional $10 to spend at the market, which is just a great win-win-win because they're getting fresh local produce and we're benefiting our local farmers, and it's just a great program all around. At the end, I'll share information like some links to our website for more information about programs like this. And I also highlighted here that there are some stores also that allow online ordering through SNAP, which is just a cool additional benefit. There is a list on the Connecticut, I think it's the Department of Social Services maintains a list of all of the participating SNAP retailers in Connecticut. Oh yeah, and here's a little bit more about our Connecticut Fresh Match program. This is a list of the farmers markets we currently have in that program. I've color-coded them by some that double purchases of fruits and vegetables specifically, but then we also have some that double SNAP purchases for non-produce items like milk and meat and eggs, etc. So a little bit about who uses SNAP in Connecticut. Just over 1 in 10 Connecticut residents receive SNAP benefits. So I think it's like just about 11% of the state population, which is between I believe it's between 300 and 400,000 people across the state. More than 50% of those households receiving SNAP have children in them. Children make up a large percentage of SNAP recipients across the country and in Connecticut. I actually believe that nationwide, children account for 40% of SNAP recipients across the board. It is worth noting that there are several thousand people in Connecticut who are eligible to participate in SNAP but do not participate. And that's one of the reasons that one of the things we do as an organization is we try to spread this information about SNAP and spread information about eligibility and the application process to encourage people to apply who might be eligible. There is no harm in applying for SNAP, even if you end up not being eligible, and that's something that we really try to reiterate. I will get to this on a later slide, but it's worth flagging here as well that one of the biggest hesitations for a lot of people is concern around citizenship status, but SNAP is a safe, non-reporting program, and so there is no harm in applying for SNAP. So I'll get more into the weeds a little bit of eligibility, I think, on this next slide. Oh, no, here we have a map of, sorry, I put this presentation together really quickly, so I don't remember where all of my slides are, but so bear with me, thank you. This is just a brief map I put together of the percent of Connecticut households receiving SNAP by town. But what you can't really see very well on this map is that even in these towns that look almost white, there still are thousands of people who receive SNAP. So even in towns that have a really low percentage of participation, there's still hundreds and thousands of people across the state who do participate in SNAP. So a little bit about eligibility for the program. The three basic determinants, I mean, it's a little more nuanced, and you can feel free to ask me questions and we can get more into the weeds, but at a high level, eligibility comes down to household size, household income, citizenship status, and also to receive SNAP in Connecticut, you have to be a Connecticut resident. Of course, SNAP is available in all states. But but to apply for SNAP, it's a little bit different state by state. Um, this chart shows you a little bit of the breakdown of household income. Basically, you look for your household size, and if your household income falls below the thresholds listed, and we have it split out into gross versus net income, and you can see what the income thresholds that the entire household income would have to fall below. Um, sorry, tripping over my words a little bit. Your household income would have to fall below those specific thresholds for that household size. And so that includes all working individuals who are part of that household. And then the column on the right shows you what the maximum possible SNAP benefit that the household of that size could receive in Connecticut. Now, Connecticut, because we are a state with generally a higher cost of living than a lot of other states. We do actually have slightly higher income thresholds, which is good. Most states across the country, the income threshold, that is the cutoff for SNAP participation, falls at 130% of the federal poverty line. Now, the federal poverty line is low to begin with, and so most states do operate above the federal poverty line. Connecticut, as of, I believe, October 2022, we went from, I think we'd been using 170%, already higher than most states, and we bumped that up to 200% of the federal poverty line. So still, in many instances, does not capture truly the need in an expensive state like Connecticut. So there's still plenty of families who fall above that cutoff, but are still working to make ends meet. But at least our thresholds are a tiny bit more lenient than in other states. Um, then I mentioned citizenship status as well. In order to receive SNAP benefits, an individual does need a social security number, which means that someone without, like an adult without a social security number, cannot apply for SNAP. But the one caveat here is that, or not caveat, it's not the right word. One clarification here is that if a household has a child that has a social security number, even if the parents don't, that household can apply for and receive SNAP. And it is safe for that family to do so. So as long as at least one person in the household has a social security number, that household can apply. Now, the catch there is that the household income still counts the income of even, say, the adults who are working in the household but don't have social security numbers, which means that it can be tricky for a household like that to fall below the threshold cutoffs. So, for example, if you had, let's say, two parents and one child, and the child had a social security number, that's still a household size of three, or sorry, that's a household size of one, but you still count the income of both of the adults, which is where that gets a little tricky to figure out. But again, what we continue to encourage is that it doesn't hurt to apply. And I'll get to some resources at the end of organizations in Connecticut who can help with the application process and can help answer questions about the application process, etc. So, oh, and I mentioned this earlier, but the average SNAP benefit per person per month is about $200. So you can see that in the chart here a little bit too. So that's sort of SNAP to date, past couple years, past couple decades, how the program has operated. There are a couple big things that are changing now, in large part due to HR 1, the bill that was passed back on the 4th of July. It included quite a lot of changes to the SNAP program. Most significantly, that will reduce eligibility, will reduce the total number of people who are eligible to participate in SNAP, which means that there are people who have been receiving SNAP who will no longer be considered eligible. It also will reduce benefit levels for a lot of SNAP households and will also increase the amount of the cost of the administration of the program that states have to take on. The program has historically been primarily federally funded, but this bill will implement a higher percentage of state cost sharing, which will make the program more administratively tedious and also burdensome for states to operate. So we recently partnered with Data Haven, which is a great organization. If you aren't already familiar with them, they do a lot of cool research on issues like this across Connecticut, and they have a lot of cool like interactive maps and things on their website. Highly recommend checking them out. But they recently published a report on what the impacts to Connecticut will be of the cuts made to SNAP at the national level. Including this map that demonstrates the number of families across Connecticut who will be losing $25 or more per month in SNAP benefits by town across the state. And in their report, they also, sorry, there's a lot of text on this slide, but, and if you're interested, I would recommend you read the report. But in terms of those three main bullet points that I said 2 slides ago, the eligibility, at least 21,000 adults in Connecticut are at risk of losing their eligibility, in large part due to increases in SNAP work requirements. So again, it gets a little wonky to get into the weeds of this, but basically SNAP requires that individuals who receive SNAP benefits are working, with exceptions. And those exceptions have previously included people like veterans and homeless people and young adults aged 18 to 25 emerging from foster care, or parents of kids. But going forward, because of this bill, there are those categories that I just listed are no longer exempt from the work requirements. And so that means that if home, a homeless person receiving SNAP, who was previously exempt from working while participating in the program, will now no longer be exempt and will have to fulfill this work requirement in order to receive their benefits. It also has increased the age limit to include previously people aged 65 and older were exempt from the work requirements as well. But now, oh, sorry, I misspoke. People aged 55 and older were exempt from the work requirements, but now people aged 54 to 64 are no longer exempt and have to fulfill the work requirements as well. Basically, all that to say that what a lot of advocates have been saying about this is that the the research done on work requirements shows that work requirements do not increase the number of people who are working. Instead, they just add more red tape and more paperwork that makes the program more burdensome to administer. Um, in addition to the work requirement changes, there will also be several categories of legal immigrants who will also lose eligibility for the program. I don't know the specifics off the top of my head at the moment, but altogether, these new restrictions will limit the number of people who are eligible for SNAP, and some people will lose their eligibility. Um, so that's one facet. The other facet is the benefit levels, and we'll see reductions in benefit levels in large part because the means by which the federal government determines SNAP benefit levels is there's this thing called the Thrifty Food Plan, which is the USDA's calculation of how much it really requires, or how much a household really requires in order to eat enough food to get by, at a thrifty level. There are other food plans at different levels of consumption, but the thrifty food plan is the one that has determined SNAP benefit levels, and that food plan is usually reevaluated every couple years to see if it matches the current costs of food. But this legislation is going to freeze the thrifty food plan at its current level for the time being. I'm not sure if there's an end point on that when they will reevaluate, but because the thrifty food plan is staying frozen, but food prices continue to grow, that means that as time goes on, SNAP benefits will go less and less far toward covering the amount of food required for a family to get by. Um, So that's a big reason why we'll see reductions in benefit levels. And then also due to the changes in cost sharing from the federal level to the state level, Connecticut could be looking at an additional $40 to $120 million annually out of pocket to help cover the program. Um, and then actually, before I move on to the shutdown, one additional thing I do want to flag, I didn't put this in my slides, um, but because we do so much work in the child nutrition space too, I'd be remiss not to mention that one sort of side effect of all of this is that we will likely see impacts to our school meals programs, because there's a convoluted mechanism that I would love to talk about, but I would probably spend too much time on, by which um, school meals programs are funded by SNAP participation and participation in other federal means tested programs. And in addition, students at schools that don't already offer free school meals district-wide or school-wide, if a student participates in SNAP outside of school, that student automatically gets free school meals as well. And so SNAP is not only this great anti-hunger program in and of itself, it's also a pathway to other benefits and other anti-hunger programs and resources. And so if we see kids losing eligibility for SNAP, we might see them pulled out of free school meals programs, or we might see districts who are losing funding for their school meals programs because of a reduction in the number of families in that district who are receiving SNAP benefits. So it's sort of this I, I don't want to call it a downward spiral because that sounds pessimistic of me, but it is a little bit. So that's sort of the current federal state. And then we get to the shutdown. And so things have been a mess in the past month and more. And I was just telling Kim and Ashley before we started this presentation, the landscape changes every day. So even in the couple days since I've been putting this presentation together, things have changed. So I'll say this again at the end, but I recommend looking to the Connecticut Department of Social Services for up-to-date information about what the current status is of this program, because information, again, is changing daily. Um, but basically, when the government shut down on October 1st, October SNAP benefits were not impacted. That money had already been set aside and guaranteed to states, and so October benefits were issued normally. The concern came when November was approaching. The USDA went back and forth on this a couple times, as to whether or not November, or weren't giving a definitive answer as to whether November benefits would be issued. And for a while there, it looked like they would not be issued at all if the government did not reopen. As of the 1st of November, November benefits, which are usually issued on the first or second day of the month, were not issued across the country. What we did here, and this is where I'd say take what I'm saying with a grain of salt, both because I'm still trying to play catch up with exactly what this means, but I also think a lot of officials at higher levels than I am, are also trying to figure out what some of this means. But what happened just this week is that there was a lawsuit, that and I'm trying not to get too lost in the specifics because I don't know how clearly I can relay this, but there was a lawsuit at the federal level due to the fact that the USDA has a contingency fund available to help pay November SNAP benefits, and some entity, it sued to compel the USDA to use its authority to fund November SNAP benefits at least some level. And so what we heard early this week was that the USDA will be complying with the result of this court case and will be issuing benefits, but at a reduced level, I think about 50%. But they're putting that burden on the states, to figure out how to issue that. And so I believe that what has come out in the last I mean, 12 to 18 hours. In Connecticut, is that Governor Lamont will be pushing those 50% benefits out within hopefully the next few days. Um, Again, this is all sort of still up in the air. Don't quote me on this. This is the the best that I understand about the current state of November benefits. Um, so we don't 100% know yet when this funding will be released, but there are benefits coming for November, but at a reduced level. And then I believe, but it has not yet been 100% confirmed, that any missed November benefits will be paid retroactively. This is something that I have heard that the Connecticut Department of Social Services has on their website, but I did hear recently that it wasn't certain. So again, we're couching a lot of this in uncertainty because that's just the status of things right now. But we do have some talking points that we are reiterating of things that we do know during this time. So November benefits, tenuous, and uncertain, but there are some things that we do still know about the program, including SNAP is still open for applications. So we are encouraging people to still apply if they think they might be eligible for SNAP, because these applications are being processed. There might be a delay in processing, but luckily we know that because this is the way that the SNAP program normally operates, is that when an application is filed, let's say an application is filed on November 1st, it can take, even during a good year, up to 30 days for an application to be processed. But when that application is processed, if it is approved, those benefits are issued retroactive to the application date of, say, November to be approved. That family still would receive those benefits that they're eligible for during that month. And so,
Meg,
what?
yeah,
Yes.
you cut out for a little bit, like I don't know, it all went away. Would you
Oh,
mind
no.
just sort of restating what you were saying? We heard up to like the benefits are retroactive from the date that someone fulfills their application, even though it may take up to 30 days. I just want to make sure we get
Yes.
as much information as you have
Oh,
to give us.
yeah, of course. Sorry about that. Yes, that's I think pretty much all I said, is that that's the way that it normally operates, even during a good year, is benefits are issued retroactive to the application date. And that is likely the case with applications processed now. Um, Again, because of I feel like I keep giving the same disclaimer over and over again, but with all this uncertainty, I can't say a lot of things with 100% certainty. Um, but it is very likely the case that benefits would still be issued retroactively. Um, we also are encouraging families to keep using their EBT cards. There was uncertainty back in October about the availability of previous benefits if the shutdown continued into November. And some organizations, I mean, even we, this was the information we had, and so we shared this at the time. There was the information being shared at the state level was that benefits would be frozen if they were still on your card on October 31st. And so people were using available funding to stock up on dry goods, non-perishable items, for fear that the benefits would not be available come November 1st. We now know that that's not true, and that any carryover SNAP benefits are still available. And that is sort of a general thing about how the program works, is that benefits can carry over from month to month, just not from year to year. And so in past years, when we've talked to people about SNAP, we've said, just try to spend down your balance by the end of December, but it's okay if you have an existing balance at the end of a month. Turns out that still holds true even during the shutdown. But with not knowing when and how much, when November benefits will be issued and how much, I still can understand why people would be trying to ration what they do have available, and use it wisely. There are a couple different ways of checking your EBT balance. There's a number on the EBT card itself that people can call. There's a number, there's a DSS operates a portal, and so anybody who participates in SNAP should have access to the My DSS portal. In a minute, I'll share that End Hunger Connecticut has a SNAP hotline that we use for questions about SNAP, application assistance, but that one of the things we can do is we can help people with their MyDSS portals if they have trouble or questions about that. Um, there are SNAP rules that SNAP households should be following, and we're encouraging people to still doing that, to still do that, like completing renewal forms and submitting periodic report forms. Um, we encourage staying tuned for announcements from DSS. They have some great FAQs on their website, and they have a banner at the top of their website that has the most up-to-date shutdown information. And then also, of course, and you're the last people I need to tell that this is true, but that people shouldn't be afraid to ask for help and that information and resources are available. Which I believe is what we'll be going into now. Oh, yeah, sorry. And I did add this one more slide. This is less shutdown specific, but more general messaging about SNAP. Again, when we're talking about SNAP, some of the messages we like to reiterate are one, that applying for SNAP doesn't take it away from other people who may need it more. SNAP is not a finite pool that's first come, first served. It's the benefits are available to everyone who is eligible. SNAP benefits also don't need to be paid back. That's something that we've heard from time to time. SNAP benefits, once they're yours, they're yours. SNAP also, as I mentioned earlier, but worth reiterating, is a safe, non-reporting program, and it is no longer considered a public charge. This is, again, getting a little into the weeds of it, but this is something that is important because it continues to carry stigma and fear for a lot of immigrant families. Under the previous Trump administration, SNAP was moved into a category of programs that are considered a public charge, which means that if a household is receiving this benefit and then applies for citizenship, having received that benefit impacts them negatively in the citizenship application process. Now, this ruling was reversed under the Biden administration and still has not been, and it still is the case that it is not considered a public charge. Now, this is something that could change, but for the time being, SNAP is still not considered a public charge, and also regardless of public charge status, is a safe non-reporting program, which means, like I said earlier, if a household has a child who is a citizen, but let's say parents who are not, that household can and should still apply, because they may be eligible dependent on income levels. Oh yeah, that's my last bullet point. Got ahead of myself there. Yeah, so that's some of the messaging that we like to share about the SNAP program. And then, how can you help? Here's the fun part. So sharing information and resources, I mean, is exactly what you guys do so well, and is exactly what's really helpful in this scenario. I recommend staying up to date on the program status. I know that that's sort of a moving target right now, but I encourage you to follow DSS. I also would be happy to put in a plug for our own social media, for our newsletters. If you follow End Hunger Connecticut or go to our website and join our newsletter at the bottom of our page, we're trying to send out information as it's available about the current status of SNAP. We're on Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, what I'm missing, Facebook. It's also helpful, of course, to direct people to available resources, both SNAP related, but also other food security resources. I'll share a few in a moment. We also have some flyers, postcards, pamphlets that I'll get into also that I would encourage you to print and share. And we also, actually, I'll get to this on a slide in a few slides here. Okay, yeah. What resources are available? Okay, so some End Hunger Connecticut specific resources that we have. I mentioned before, we have our free confidential SNAP hotline. This is a phone number that we staff 7 days a week. And our bilingual call center associates can answer questions about SNAP. They can help screen for potential eligibility. So we have a quick pre-screener to determine, it's like a 10-15 question quiz that helps determine whether or not someone may be eligible for SNAP. And if we determine that they may be eligible, we can actually help them with the application process over the phone. And that like the entire process complete with submitting documents. Our call center associates have secure cell phones. They can even, so people can complete their application in whatever manner is easiest to them, whether that's submitting documents by email or text, or faxing. We have different modes of application available. But it's a great number to call even if you just have questions about the program. Um, we also, in addition to being able to do that pre-screener over the phone, we have the pre-screener on our website as well that people can fill out there. And if the pre-screener determines that they may be eligible, and our caveat here is that it only determines possible eligibility. We can't say with 100% certainty whether or not someone is eligible because there might be 10 different extenuating factors that might affect eligibility one way or another. But if we determine through a pre-screener, either online or on the phone, that someone may be eligible, or sorry, in this case, if we determine that online, what then we can do is it directs people to selecting a time to talk to one of our call center associates over the phone if they want to then go through with the application process. We can funnel them right into that to sort of ease any barriers to entry there. So we have these postcards that we print and distribute, and I've been trying to find the PDFs that I'll share with all of you so that if you're interested in printing these postcards and sharing them at your libraries, we'll have those available. We have them in English and Spanish. We also have these little website buttons, and I'll share with Kim the directions for adding this to your website. It's basically like adding the image somewhere on your website, and people can click it, and it directs them to our pre-screener. So those are some of the resources we have directly. We also have this SNAP pamphlet that I've developed that's just a brief guide to accessing SNAP in Connecticut. It goes over a lot of the things actually that I've talked about right here, some of the basic eligibility information. It has the chart that displays household income by family size and the thresholds you have to meet. It displays some of the myths and facts about the program, some of the stats I shared at the beginning of the presentation about like how many people in Connecticut participate and the farmers markets that participate in Connecticut Fresh Match, and excuse me, some basic facts about the program. And we have this available in 5 different languages, all printable. I will be sharing, oh, actually, it's my next slide. Yes, I was just telling Kim and Ashley about this before everybody else came on. This one's a little more, it's not as zhuzhed up as some of our other flyers and things, but given the needs of the moment and also given that this is sort of a useful thing for me to be able to share in general, I've been putting together a Google document that I'm going to share with Kim and Ashley so that they can share with all of you, where I can update with links to external resources as well as like I put right here, a tab in the document to link to these printable things that I've mentioned, like our postcards, like our flyers. And that way, because it's a Google Doc, this can live live and I can update as things become available. I am trying to put together more resources, more, printable flyers. And so I can add them into this document so that this is a perpetual resource for all of you. I think I've set the sharing settings such that anyone can comment. So if there's something that you are interested in learning more about and don't know where to look for that information, like shoot me a comment and I'll see what I can throw in there. So this is a little more this is evolving as we speak. And as I mentioned earlier, I'm linking to our pre-screener and some of our resources. The Data Haven report that I mentioned earlier about the SNAP cuts in Connecticut is linked in here. Linked to DSS's website where you can stay up to date on shutdown news. Let's see. Oh yeah, and there we go. Sorry, I might have sped through that a little bit to make sure we had time for questions at the end.
Um, no, you did great. And honestly, before we say anything else, I want to say, um, thank you. The thank you doesn't even feel good enough. This is a lot that you are taking on, keeping track of the information, trying to communicate the information, and then it might change in like 2 hours. This is so much. And again, like we said, you put this together for us so quickly, and I can't imagine if our brains are spinning, I can't imagine what your brain is doing right now. So just like the biggest thank you in the entire world for everything that you are doing and being here. And I hope you adult color or journal or something or drink cocoa, because we also at the state library like understand it exactly what's happening, especially any of us who were there when quarantine immediately happened. This is the information that people are clamoring for can be a lot. So thank you so much. There were a couple questions. So folks, feel free to keep putting questions in the chat. I'm gonna hit a couple that came in and one that I actually had myself.
Mhm.
But the first question that came in was, can individuals apply for SNAP if they don't have kids? Someone did reply and say that they believe that WIC is the only program that requires you to have children, and SNAP is open for people who don't have children, but can you verify that for us?
Yes, SNAP is open for individuals who don't have children.
Okay, perfect. Someone did comment, and I noticed it too, that on the website they tried to click downloadable resources and it doesn't do anything. And I clicked as well, and it like pops me up to the
Mhm.
top of the web page. So don't feel free to
Okay.
touch that now. I just wanted to let you know in case you.
No, thank you for flagging that. We had our website redone like a month ago, and we're still getting all the pages back in order. Um, I will make sure that whatever downloadable resources we have, while we're still working on the website, I'll put them in this Google Doc. And actually, I just switched my screen, and I will share this really quickly. Can you see this?
Let's come in. Yes,
So this is the document that I had screenshotted and put in the presentation with like Snap resources. And I
beautiful.
did want to flag this because I know this is particularly helpful for a lot of people for food resources more generally. And this is not by any means a comprehensive list. This was just what I could pull in 20 minutes this morning. But a lot of towns publish a local like food assistance guide um, that is usually in a printable format. I used to publish the Stanford and Danbury ones in my previous role, which is why I knew those ones existed. But often, your local United Way tends is a good resource for resources. They tend to have their pulse on who in the community is doing what in the social services realm more broadly. And a lot of these food guides are put together by local United Ways. And so that was just a resource I wanted to flag as another thing that libraries would be a great place in general for something like that, an updated guide of like where are the local food pantries or things like
Hmm.
that.
Hmm.
So I wanted to flag that. And then this here is where I'll put those Snap 101 pamphlets. And actually, I can give you sort of sorry, this is my Canva. So this
No,
is,
we love Canva
um,
over here in library land.
this is a better, a wider view of what those pamphlets look like. They're like a tri-fold pamphlet, um, with the different things that I've talked about during the presentation with a couple more things. And in I can show you this too. The document with the resources, it lives in this folder that I created. Um, and what I will do for each of the pamphlets is I also have them with the crop and bleed marks if anyone gets them professionally printed. Um, that's what we've used in the past to get them sent to a printer. Um, versus this is just the like regular
Mm.
letter sized one.
Beautiful.
Just want to
I
show
can't believe the
those
amount of
things.
work that you are doing on our behalf. I just like, I'm probably just going to say thank you to you, even when you're like, when I'm alone, like, and I see some information. Thank you, Meg. So we had another question come in.
Mhm.
Do you have an outreach or education department to do this presentation for communities? So now you're speaking to our librarians, but if our librarians wanted to reach out to you or someone from End Hunger CT or somewhere to speak to their town, Is there anything for that?
Yep, that would be me. I will put my
Yay!
email in the chat.
Great.
I'm our program manager. We are a team of five,
No,
so I do a little bit of a lot of things. So I would be happy to come give a presentation. I'm based in Stamford, but our office is in Hartford, and I travel all over the state.
that's great. Thank you so much. And what would you say to someone who feels discouraged about applying for SNAP, like in November and beyond? This person understands, oh, it's Dune. Hey, Dune, we see you a lot. I understand that they might feel it is not worth the energy given the current situation, which is very understandable.
Yeah, no, that's an understandable sentiment. I would say that first I would flag that like I mentioned earlier, the average SNAP benefit is around $200 per person per month, which is not insignificant, and that there are so many resources available to help you with the application process and get over that hurdle, um, that should help make it a lower lift, that I think it's worth applying for benefits that you are eligible for and taking advantage of that. I understand that it can be demoralizing to apply to a program and wonder if you're still going to have access to that program next month, but $200 one month and then not the next is better than $0 at all.
Absolutely.
Well, and I think too, it's like what is the discouragement or maybe even fear around applying? And I think you've also given us so much other information, Meg, such as, that this is a non-reporting program. So if the fear lies there, right? You've also talked about getting, if there's a pause in benefits, you'll get the sort of retroactive money forward, right? If there's like a pause at a certain time. So like all of these things, right, it depends on like where that individual's fear might be. But I feel like you've provided so much information to help hopefully alleviate that and support that person through that application process.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's oh, goodness gracious. I can't believe at one point I saw End Hunger CT and thought like just summer and like there wasn't a million other things that were going on. And I will forever be grateful for meeting you and learning about all these initiatives. I did have one clarifying question.
Mhm.
When you were talking about the fact that the amount of, or I guess the eligibility of if a household qualifies for SNAP benefits, takes into account all working individuals in the home, does that include minors? Like when someone turns 16 and they're able to get their first job and they're filing their paperwork, are they included in that? I'm just curious.
That's a really good question, and I'm not 100% sure
That's fair.
if it does. So
Okay.
I would say I defer to other sources.
We're librarians. We'll find it.
Yeah.
Okay. So thank you.
There is
Thank you.
actually, this is not something that I might share with maybe my normal audience, but that maybe a group of librarians would be well suited for this resource. But DSS has like a SNAP policy manual that is dense and detailed, but very comprehensive. I will link that in the document as well. That's a good go-to source for your wonkiest questions about the program.
This is the group. You have found the group of people
Perfect.
to go through that and then have long conversations about it on our list. There are applause. So absolutely, we shall read even if we divide up sections amongst ourselves.
Perfect.
So there's another question that comes in here. Has there been any expansion of those who can get into the USDA Commons program, which I'm not familiar with? I know
Yes.
that back home or the tribe back home is getting elders signed up, but I've heard rumors they might drop the age requirement at one point.
That is a good question and something that I don't know much about, but I
Fair.
can look into that.
Great. Thank you. Yes, yes. No, your brain is full, holding a lot of information, and there's bound to be some. Let's look it up. Thank you so much. Let's see, is
Love
there
good questions, though.
you'll get those here. Um, are there any other questions? Also, I know some questions are hard to put into sentences. So if
Mhm.
someone needs to kind of like ramble through a question to get their point out, feel free to pop your hand up just so we don't have a couple of folks doing that at the same time, and you can unmute yourself because not all questions lend themselves to typing. Let's give it a moment. Mm. What are other ways do you recommend we can battle negative misinformation about SNAP?
Um, that's a good question. I think continuing to share the positive information about SNAP and promoting that. Um, I mean, one thing we like to do when we can is highlight stories about SNAP, highlight some of the positive impacts of SNAP. And that was actually, I'd been planning on putting a couple slides in the deck and then I ran out of time. Um, but some slides just about the sort of ripple up effects of the SNAP program because it not only is a great anti-hunger program, but a great anti-hunger, anti-food security program by nature becomes a great healthcare program because if you keep people well fed, that helps prevent so many preventable diseases and long-term illnesses. And like a great anti-hunger program is also a great education program because if you're feeding kids, you're helping them succeed in school. And so there are so many different like compounding positive effects of the SNAP program. Um, like at every, I think the data we've used is that for every dollar of SNAP benefits issued in a community, every dollar generates $1.50 in economic activity within that community. And so it's this great multiplier of so many things, of economic security, of uh, food security, of education, of health, etc.
I also just want to randomly say, and I'm seeing this comment here that makes me so angry. A workshop I went to what early in my library life, like man, I was a library toddler, suggested, and it was actually about a different topic, but suggested putting information into bathrooms and bathroom stalls,
Mm,
not only for the dignity and privacy of some folks who maybe someone wants to take a picture of the QR code or take a picture and take a number down and might be too ashamed to do that if something is like right by the elevator and there are people waiting with them to get that. That might be a good place to share some of those the myth busting that you did early on in the slides. But the restroom and restroom stalls, it's a place where many people go, but it's also a place where they can have complete privacy,
yeah.
and hold on to some dignity if folks are worried about appearances in regards to reading up on the SNAP program and myths, as well as gathering information potentially for themselves, their families, or friends.
Yeah, that's a really great point. And now my wheels are turning and I'm thinking it'd be cool to design a series of flyers that could be used for just that. This is a very technical question, but for any of you who have sign holders in bathroom stalls, like what size flyer would be useful? Just like an 8.5 by 11, or like sometimes I feel like I've seen those skinnier ones. You don't have to have an answer,
I
but
see a yes. I know in some of
okay.
the like wash your hands things were coming out when we were kind of
Yeah,
at the height of some people just tape them up to the wall. Like there's not even a
that's
sign
true too.
holder. They're
Yeah,
just taped on up to the wall, sort of regardless of size. But I do see some 8.5 by 11 flyers. And
yeah,
oh, and they
see some
laminate them.
illumination.
Yes, especially in the bathroom.
Yeah,
Good call.
yeah, yeah. Okay, good to know. I might play around with that and see. I mean, I've been trying to put together some additional flyers anyways. So what I'll say is pin my document when Kim sends it to you and I'll keep adding to it.
Yes, and
Maybe we can do some.
we'll definitely get it up somewhere too. I know on my Children and Youth Services page there is a tab for partners. So I'm gonna link to End Hunger CT and have a direct link to that document. We'll make sure that it goes out for a while in newsletters and weekly wraps. But save it, star it, and as you mentioned, Meg, what a great idea because it's a live document. So as you get more information or there are more resources, it can be updated. So I think that's absolutely amazing.
Yeah. And also one more note I wanted to add to the comment about getting a job while being on Snap. I believe that it's around 80% of Snap households are working. It might even be higher than that. I don't know the number off the top of my head, but it's the large majority. And so that's something that's one of the ways that we respond when we hear people say things like that.
Beautiful. And there's that myth busting right there,
Yeah,
and because then you
yeah.
got people who are elderly, people who are children, people who, have a disability or have been injured. So yeah, that just makes me so angry. This is a recording. This is a recording. I'm gonna chill. But okay, I'm just scrolling to make sure that we don't miss anything. If there are just any clarifications, even if you think no one's gonna know the answer, who cares? Just throw it in there and we can see what we know. And I just also want to thank folks for sharing stories in the chat as well. Don't see anything else. So that means I think we can give you a few minutes of your day back. Ashley and I will absolutely follow up once we have all of the resources from Meg. I've also been grabbing a few links of my own just in case they're not in there. Please give us about 5-ish business days to get this recording up because we manually caption them. We adjust the captions that Zoom has, and we want to make sure that folks, oh, thank you for this link here. I'm going to grab this. We want to make sure, that everyone is able to access this, whether they are listening or reading the captions. And thank you all for joining us. Thank you all for your want to learn more. At the state, we will continue to keep our ear to the ground, and if there's a need for another webinar because something big happens, we'll reach right out to Meg. And we'll do the best we can to get y'all the information that you need to best serve your residents. And we're gonna figure this out. So thank you,
Yeah.
Meg, and thank
No,
you
thank you
everyone
so
for
much
joining us.
for having me, and oh, that goes for anyone. Feel free to reach out to me. You have my email address. If you have questions or if you want me to come talk to your community, I'm happy to. So let me know.
Thank you.